the Sustainability and Health Initiative for Net Positive Enterprise. So it's a long name, and that's why we call it SHINE for short. I was a co-founder of SHINE. I had already been working on the handprint idea for over 10 years by that time. I'd been using it in my classes at Harvard as a sort of inspirational send-off theme. And then I actually made it the center of the class. But I started to realize more and more that we needed to engage companies in testing this idea and helping us learn about it when companies actually apply it in real life. It's a great concept. It seems like a great concept, and it was inspiring to students and so on, but you have to try it, and you have to see if it makes business sense, if it's practical, if we can gather the data, all of those things, and if it can have a big impact, as it seems to have the potential for. So I approached a senior faculty at Harvard and said, I'd like to launch some applied research on this. And he approved the idea. We had a few companies who wanted to get involved, and so we launched SHINE at that time. I launched it with a colleague, Eileen McNeely, who has a focus on worker well-being and improving worker well-being. So we saw a synergy there, and we launched SHINE together. That's why I co-launched it. More recently, we've brought the SHINE handprinting net positive work that I started over to MIT. So SHINE is now a Harvard-MIT partnership, and the handprinting work that I continue to do with companies is now headquartered at MIT, where we have some great expertise on life cycle assessment and engineering, of course, and really a lot of the methodological background that provides the foundation for doing handprint analysis and applying it with companies. The Net Positive project is a broad effort to grow the movement on Net Positive, to develop some and advance and disseminate some basic principles and guidelines for Net Positive. And the SHINE effort is perhaps a bit more intensive applied research with companies to really apply handprinting and Net Positive in a rigorous way, and to document, test, standardize, refine, and improve the methodologies for handprinting and Net Positive. So life cycle assessment is, in fact, the field that I've worked in now for 20-some years. And I sometimes say that life cycle assessment is the art and science of footprinting. So it's the art and science of understanding the total environmental and social impacts of production and consumption. We tend to focus on the negative impacts, and most of the impacts that within the impact categories that we look at in life cycle assessment, most processes across the life cycle tend to have negative impacts. So that's why we think of footprints as negative, and they generally add up to a negative impact. So, releases of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, or consumption of water resources, harming biodiversity perhaps, or releasing toxins to the air, water, and land so that we have human health consequences. Those are environmental footprints, environmental footprint categories. We also even have social footprints, so child labor risk in supply chains, or risk of forced labor, or excessive working time, or poverty wages, or risk of working in conditions that are hazardous, or high risk of injury and accidents. All of these aspects are footprints.